Hi! Welcome to Story Spot. And this is the story of a woman who found a series of photos in her new house that showed her with different faces. The year before, my wife and I had finally gotten our real estate license. We worked part-time at a local real estate agency after we both finished college, so we were pretty green, but excited to be working toward buying our first house together. One of our clients was a 68-year-old woman. She had recently lost her husband and wanted to move from her family home into a retirement village that was closer to town. Her name was Mrs. Du, and she told us about how she and her late husband had bought the house for their honeymoon and raised their kids there. She had so many fond memories associated with every room. Her eyes welled up when she walked through the front door and saw that it would soon be someone else. She said, "I've had such a wonderful life here." Then she asked us if we knew what she should do with all of the things inside the house. She wasn't taking anything with her to the retirement village. "What am I supposed to do with everything? It's just going to go to waste," she lamented. "Well, you could always donate or sell it, or if you really don't want anyone else to have it, you could always have a yard sale," my partner suggested. Maybe a yard sale?" Mrs. Delacroix replied. She began rummaging through some of the rooms to see if she could find any valuables to put up for sale. She went into her bedroom and came out with a jewelry box in hand. "This has been in our family for generations," she said, opening the box for us to look at. It was filled with necklaces, rings, and earrings. "It'll probably sell for a lot of money," my partner commented. "If it does, I think I'd like to buy it back from you," Mrs. Delacroix said. So my partner wrote down the price for the jewelry box on a list. She went back into her bedroom and came out with a framed picture. It was an old photo of her and her husband. "How about this?" she asked. My partner looked at it and wrote something on the list. That happened a few more times until Mrs. Delacroix had gone through most of the house and had a list of items and prices written down. She gave it to us and said, "That's it. I leave it all up to you." She told us to contact her when we had a buyer for anything so she could pass on the money. My partner and I looked at each other. What had we gotten ourselves into? The house was massive and filling it with antiques and artwork. She must have been very wealthy, though, I thought. My partner called one of her friends who owned an antique store and asked her to come over and take a look at the stuff. She agreed and set up a table in the garage for all of the items. Over the next few days, people came in and out of the house to view the items. One day, while we were sitting in the kitchen eating takeout food, we heard someone come in through the front door. My partner and I looked at each other and then got up to see who it was. I walked into the living room and saw a young woman standing there. "Can I help you?" I asked. "Hi, are you the real estate agent?" she asked. "Yes, I am. Do you have an appointment?" "Oh, no. I was just wondering if I could take a look around." "Sure. Go ahead." She began to walk around the living room, and I noticed that she kept touching her long black hair behind her back. I thought it was odd, but didn't say anything. She went into the dining room, then the kitchen, then came back into the living room. "So, is this house for sale?" she asked. "Yes, it is." "Why?" "Oh, no reason. I used to live here," she said. "Oh, did you? How long ago?" "About 10 years. I grew up here." She paused for a moment. "Are you sure?" I asked. "Yeah, I'm sure," she replied. She looked at me strangely and then went back out into the hall. "Wait a second," she suddenly said, turning back to face me. "Don't you remember me?" "I'm Marie," she said. "Marie, I'm sorry, but I don't remember you," I said. "Oh, it's fine," she replied. A forced smile. She turned and went back out into the hall. "See you later," I called after her. As I watched her leave the house, I couldn't shake the feeling that I should remember her. Who was she? Was she related to the previous owner? She certainly seemed to know her way around the house. I went back into the kitchen to tell my partner about her. "That's weird," my partner replied. "I think I know who she is, though. Mrs. Delacroix has 2 daughters. I think she mentioned that they had both moved away after their father died. Maybe she's visiting them," my partner added. We never saw the mysterious woman again, and neither of us ever found out who she was. However, not long after, my partner and I packed up the last of the items from the house and put it all out on the lawn for one final yard sale. On the last day of the yard sale, as my partner and I were getting ready to pack everything up, a man in his 70s approached our table. "I'm looking for something," he said. "What are you looking for?" I asked. Family photos. He explained that his wife had passed away a few weeks earlier, and he was looking for an old photo of the two of them. I don't think we have any photos here, but why don't you look around? I suggested. He began digging through some of the boxers and suddenly yelled, "There they are!" He pulled out a stack of photos and showed them to me. They were photos of a young couple, and in all of them, the woman had the same beautiful face. But in each photo, she had a different hairstyle. In one photo, she had long flowing hair. In another, she had short hair. In another, she wore a scarf. In another, her hair was hidden under a hat. "These aren't mine," the man said, confused. "Oh, well, they must have been left by the previous owner," I replied. "No, I think these are mine," the man said. He looked at me and his eyes widened. "Wait, do you know where the previous owner lives?" "Yes, I actually work with her," I said. "Great," the man exclaimed. "Can you please give her these photos?" He handed them over to me. Of course. Later that week, my partner and I met with Mrs. Delacroix to go over the last of the sales. We sat down at her kitchen table. She was holding a cup of tea. "Thank you for coming," she said. "So, here's the check for the yard sale," my partner said. "Oh, yes, thank you." She took the check and put it in her purse. She then reached into her pocket and pulled out the stack of photos. "What are these doing here?" she asked. "I have no idea," I replied. "The man who bought your jewelry box brought them to me and asked me to give them to you." "Ma?" she said, taking a look at them. "I know those photos," she said after a moment. "Those are my daughter's photos." "But how did they get here? And how did that man think they were his?" Mrs. Delacroix looked at us with tears in her eyes. "You must tell me everything you know about the woman who visited the house," she begged. At first, my partner and I told her all we knew. We told her about how the mysterious woman had visited the house 2 weeks prior and had asked if she could look around. But we didn't tell her about how the woman kept touching her hair, because we didn't think it was important. But then Mrs. Delacroix began crying. "Please, please tell me," she cried. "Tell me exactly what she looked like." We described her tall, thin build, her long black hair, which she kept touching, and her pale white face. When we were done describing her, Mrs. Delacroix stood up, her face pale. "Ah, God," she whispered. "That was my Marie from 10 years ago," she said. "She died in a car accident. How can she still be alive?" My partner and I learned a few days later that Marie had been suffering from amnesia after the accident. She had somehow convinced herself that she had lived with her mother her whole life, and that her mother was still alive. She had also changed her appearance dramatically so that nobody would recognize her. She had been searching for her old life and had seen the house for sale. Not knowing anything about memory loss, we diagnosed her condition and figured out who she was on her own. However, she had since regained her memory and was now living in a care home where doctors could monitor her condition. Thanks for listening. This story comes from a popular Reddit thread. If you like this type of content, check out the playlist for more stories like this. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.